Okay, so just recording a little chat with you. So normally for 100 Days of Blue, I'd put a video out saying 100 Days of Blue starting, let's celebrate the summer, getting near, in, on and underwater. But I thought it was really good to hear from you because it's your thing, Jay. This is Wallace J. Nichols, author of the New York Times best-selling book, Blue Mind. You probably have heard me mention it loads of times. This is the UK edition.
Lovely. I love that cover. I love that cover more, actually.
This is the current UK edition, and I have gifted many of those to people, and will gift many of them to people. So that it's easy to get hold of in the UK. But yeah, tell me about 100 Days of Blue 2020 or 2020, or 100 Days of Blue Mind, should I say? So what are you
Yes.
What are you looking forward to for this year's the 7th annual 100 Days of Blue Mind challenge?
Well, I'll start off just by saying thank you to Lizzie. You are an incredible ambassador for this idea, and your work has helped many lives, and I imagine even saved some lives. And from the start, we launched the book in your backyard, literally, in 2014. The book came out in the UK first, and we launched the book. Literally, the book launch was on Bedruthen Steps, right on the bluffs there, and that was a great time. And ever since then, you've remained an ambassador and a champion for the ideas behind Blue Mind. So I just wanted to give you that shout out and attending all the Blue Mind summits and participating enthusiastically in 100 Days of Blue Mind every year. So this is our 7th year. Every year in the Northern Hemisphere summertime. I always like to point that out for our Southern Hemisphere friends. Starting in late May and going through early September, we do what's called 100 Days of Blue Mind. And it's basically a reminder to touch water in some way in your life every day and share your story. And drag people along with you if you can, and use social media if that's your thing, but to build new habits around Blue Mind. And that can be domestic water in your home. It can be your wild water, your lakes, rivers, oceans, ponds. It can be pools. It can also be virtually, so through art and poetry and literature, music. But touch your water every day and share your story is really the call to action. So your question was, what's different this year? Our 7th year. This year, we are in the midst of a global pandemic. That's really what's different. Mm-hmm. And our first responders, health practitioners, essential workers, and everybody else is carrying an extra load of red mind. And unfortunately, that's leading to gray mind. And so what we want to do is make it clear that one of the tools for our toolkit is Blue Mind, is our water, wherever you are. If you're stuck inside, practice Blue Mind. If you're able to get out, practice Blue Mind and do it daily. And so I think our message has never been more important or relevant, but we want it to be heard and utilized by those who need it most and everyone else. So that's what's different this year. Basically, spread, whatever your creative outlet is. If you're a musician, sing about it. If you're a photographer, post a daily photograph. If you're a surfer, help some other folks get out on the water with you. If you're a swimmer or a diver, just express your Blue Mind daily. That's really what we're doing. Yeah.
We were talking just now offline around the ripple effect, how we actually expand that message out to a wider audience in terms of this idea that water is medicine and making that common knowledge. So how do we do that? If we can do it on social media, definitely by hashtagging Blue Mind and hashtagging 100 Days of Blue Mind, which brings it back to that sense of that what you're experiencing is Blue Mind. Are there other ways that you sense that we can, through 100 Days of Blue, really celebrate water as medicine?
Yeah, so I think using our technology is part of it. Email, don't forget email, just letting people in your network know that 100 Days of Blue Mind is happening. That's what we're doing right now in the lead up. Come May 25th on day one, then we'll be practicing it, but sharing it really in any way you can. So conversations happen face to face still. Conversations happen over the phone. Going out to your water safely and appropriately and legally, obviously. But then in your own home, make sure everybody in your household is practicing Blue Mind daily. And that may mean mindful showers and baths, may mean really cool conversations, or maybe watching a documentary like the new documentary that you've worked on, sharing that with the people in your family, sitting down and learning about Blue Mind. We've got lots of great videos, obviously the book, reading together. So it isn't all about social media and technology and the digital world. It's about the analog world and the wild waters. I was thinking the other day, we talk about nature therapy, and Blue Mind goes beyond nature therapy, and the waters come through our homes. So the water that runs through your house is nature. That water didn't come from a factory. That water came from the wild world, and it runs through your home. And that's just so cool. It comes out every sink and every spigot and every tap, and it runs through your home, and you have the opportunity to spend a little time with it as it flows through your household and across your body. That's nature. That water is nature. So, really recognizing that and embracing it and enjoying it and celebrating it, and mindfully taking some time to appreciate the gift that is water in our lives. Even if you're stuck in an apartment, you can still do that. So digitally, virtually, that's part of it. Domestically, and then of course the wild waters are the way we do it. But get people joining us. I mean, it's a rally your team, rally your company, your family, your friend network to be part of 100 Days of Blue Mind. And I guarantee at the end of the 100 days, you will feel better. I mean, you've done it every year, and you've rallied people to jump in the ocean with you and go diving and surfing and rescuing wildlife with you. And I mean, it's like you see on the face of people before, during, and after every session, let alone the 100 days, that they're a better version of themselves, right?
I've just got out of the water. I just went for a swim, and there was a lady swimming away from us in terms of social distancing. But she said every time, because it's cold, the water's cold here at the moment. She said every time I start questioning, should I? And I'm doubting it. She said I get out, and she used exactly the words that you use regularly. She said I never regret going in. She said I always get out feeling so much better. And I was like, it's really. Really, and that is it's the near, in, on, or under. So if it's not, that's what I love about 100 Days of Blue Mind. It might be virtual water in terms of music and art, but it also might be going and looking at it if getting in it isn't for you. So yeah,
you can walk along the edge of it. Yeah, you can walk along the coast. Of course, being appropriately socially distanced, and if you have the opportunity to get wet, do it, or get in a boat and paddle a little bit. They're all every way. There are no wrong ways to do 100 Days of Blue Mind. Really, the goal is to build the new habits. And you mentioned that it's easy to say, oh, it's too cold. Oh, I don't have time. Oh, I can't get the boat out. I can't get the wetsuit. Whatever it is, there are lots of excuses, and you never regret it. Once you break through that excuse barrier, and when you get out of the water, you never regret it. And so what 100 Days of Blue Mind helps us do is push through and do it every day. It gives us a framework and a community of like-minded people all over the world. I mean, we did a Zoom call yesterday that you were on. There were people all over the world on that Zoom call who are ambassadors for 100 days of Blue Mind. And it's going to just be really fun to stay connected with our water loving brothers and sisters all over the world at this time, especially. It's fun every year. This year it's going to be extra important. And so that's part of it, is we connect to each other, we connect to our waters, we share what we're doing, where we're doing it. I look at your posts, your videos and your photos, and they make me happy. And that's part of it. It's sharing that stoke.
Yeah.
So it reminds me, oh, Lizzie, you're a few hours ahead, so you get in your water, it reminds me to get in my water. And it comes around every day. And so what you're doing is sets off that ripple effect and reminds people, oh yeah, well, Lizzie got in the water, I better get in the water, or at least get down to the water, or at least enjoy a nice bath. And so that's part of the work.
And that's the thing, the number of people that say they see your posts that they aren't aware of, and it's had a positive effect on them. And that's what I love. That's why I'm a Blue Mind ambassador. And that's why I support the work that you do. That's why I encourage people to join the Patreon scheme, which is actually about supporting you to continue championing water as medicine. So you're kind of the voice for sending that message out there, to actually let people know that this is free health resource for us. It's Mental Health Awareness Week here, Mental Health Awareness Month here in the UK. But mental health awareness should be every month. It's not just May.
Right.
And getting in your water shouldn't just be the summer. It's how do you connect with it 24/7, like all the time. So
right.
all year round. So your Patreon scheme is I hugely champion, and I'm going to put a link to it with this video. 100 Days of Blue is about sending a message out. I think it's about communicating that to a wider audience and encouraging people to come back and support the Blue Mind movement, if you like, because we actually are using that word now. It's a movement, or a groundswell. I think you like groundswell.
Groundswell, yeah.
Groundswell's nice because it's got watery pieces.
Exactly.
And you said about videos. You've got this in Patreon. You've got so much material in terms of allowing people to access virtual Blue. So you've got loads of movies and film footage, and so many resources for people if they can't physically get out to water. So that's something that's just hugely valuable, and I've got huge gratitude for you for putting that together, because that is a resource to actually share. So
I encourage people who are patrons of the work. First of all, thank you for being a patron, and thank you for to all of our patrons. People can be patrons at $1 a month, any level. The model is basically pretty simple. It's a crowdfunding model, rather than a grant or a big donor or a big sponsor model. And the goal is to keep things as open and flexible and efficient and responsive as we can, and not to be encumbered by any external agendas. So the resources are available on Patreon to everybody. They're supported by and made possible by our patrons. So if you have an extra $1, you can be a patron. If you prefer to be just a user of the information without investing in it, that's your prerogative. But we prefer people who drop a little tip in the tip jar.
I think so.
There's lots of videos. We try to post information to curate the information that's the most useful to our Blue Mind ambassadors. And I think it's an experiment. And so how do you we know how to build organizations, we know how to build brands, we know how to build businesses, but building a groundswell and creating common knowledge is not as clear. And so this is an experiment. How do you create common knowledge? How do you build a groundswell that gives people the tools they need to take these ideas and run, and doesn't hold them back through copyrights and trademarks and restrictions? So that's the experiment, and it's pretty interesting. I mean, it's a whole conversation in itself, but we started calling it a movement, and then the word movement got a little bit cloudy, and it seems like it's a movement of movements. So the word groundswell yeah, that's sort of a semantics conversation, but the word groundswell, I think, encompasses what Blue Mind has become, because there's the blue health and blue space, and there's blue design, and there's blue schools, and each of those could be considered a movement. But when you put them all together, it's more of a groundswell. And so that's why we use that word. And it is a good oceany word. So
it is ocean. And I know Blue Mind isn't just oceans, it's rivers, lakes, streams. I clearly got a huge amount of heart for the ocean. So one more question for you, and then I'll stop recording so that you can get to the rest of your day. And this links to 100 Days of Blue. What is this? I mean, I know anybody that I know will know very well what this is, but how does this link to 100 Days of Blue from your perspective?
Yeah, there's our blue. All right, we can share blue marbles virtually and responsibly these days. So on the at least on the U.S. edition of the book, there's a blue marble on the spine right there, and not on the UK edition, unfortunately. But the last chapter in the book describes in detail what these blue marbles represent, and basically they've become the icon, the symbol for this conversation. They're playful, they're beautiful, they're made of recycled glass, of course. They are, for lack of a better word these days, viral by design. They're meant to be shared. And when this marble represents the way we look from 1,000,000 miles away. If you took a trip 1,000,000 miles off of Earth and turned around and looked back, you'd see something that looked about like that. Just a reminder, we live and thrive on a water planet because of the water. And when we undervalue our waters, bad things happen. Just as when we undervalue each other, bad things happen. So Blue Mind is about valuing each other and valuing the water that gives us life correctly and fully. And that means the emotional benefits, the cognitive benefits, the social and the spiritual benefits need to be embraced and discussed and shared. And for too long, we've dialed that out of our training and our education and our conversations and our policy. And what we're doing here is dialing it back in, because the science is on our side, the practical experience is on our side, history is on our side, to say that, if you're feeling a little grim, or as Herman Melville would say, you're feeling a little November in your soul, it's high time to get to the water and take care of that, get some Blue Mind. So, Melville wrote in the first page of Moby Dick all about Blue Mind, that when you're feeling a little down, a little out, a little red mind, a little gray mind, as a lot of us are feeling, given the circumstances, it's time to get to the water. And that water may be the water in your home, it may be down the street, it may be a creek, a river, maybe virtual, maybe domestic, it may be literary, but put it into play. That's the reminder. Put it into play every day with us all together, and that's very supportive. To get your Blue Mind on together is a really fun thing to do, and that's what we're doing.
Thank you. And that's the thing. And even in these times of physical distancing, it's great to stay socially connected to being part of a groundswell. And 100 Days of Blue is the perfect opportunity to. And it's a really open groundswell. It's not a groundswell that's in any way cliquey. Everybody is welcome to Blue Mind, which is what I love.
That's right.
So thank you.
And I think that's maybe one of the best uses of social media I've ever encountered, is sharing these ideas and enjoying our waters together. So that's kind of the goal, is let's take over social media and use it as a force for good, and get our Blue Minds on together. So thank you for having this chat.
Thank you for chatting with me. It's much nicer rather than me sharing the same. This is what 100 Days of Blue is. Thank you. I'm going to stop recording now. Let's stop.